My name is Adrian Cole. I'm 28 years old, born and raised in Chicago, where winter makes everything look honest and lonely at the same time. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, she said, Don't Look, but I couldn't stop. It began in October, on a Thursday evening glazed with rain and city light. The kind of night when every street looked like it was remembering something sad. I was leaving the office later than usual, my shoulders tight, my phone buzzing with 3 missed calls from my mother and 1 message from my younger brother. Evan, you need to call her back. It's about Dad. I didn't call. Instead, I stood under the awning outside our building and watched people hurry past with their collars turned up against the wind. I worked as an account manager at a branding firm downtown, one of those sleek agencies with exposed brick, expensive coffee, and glass conference rooms where people said things like authentic storytelling while quietly falling apart. My job was to smile through impossible deadlines, soothe angry clients, and make chaos sound intentional. I was good at it. Calm voice, steady hands, useful in a crisis. At home, usefulness felt different. My father had been in and out of the hospital for months, but no one in my family knew how to speak plainly about fear. My mother weaponized silence. My brother turned everything into anger. And I disappeared into work and called it responsibility. That night, I might have done the same thing again if I hadn't heard a voice behind me. You're still here. I turned and saw her standing in the revolving door's amber light. Leah Mercer. She worked 2 floors above mine in corporate litigation, which meant technically we weren't colleagues, just neighboring species in the same glass ecosystem. I'd seen her before in elevators, in the lobby, once at a company holiday event where she'd laughed at something a senior partner said without actually smiling. She was 32, though she carried herself with the kind of composure that made age irrelevant. Dark wool coat, hair pinned back, except for one loose strand the rain had curled near her cheek. She always looked as if she belonged to a more disciplined world than mine. Unfortunately, I said. She stepped under the awning beside me, holding a closed umbrella like a cane. That makes 2 of us. Up close, she looked tired. Not casual office tired. Not long day tired. Something deeper, like she hadn't slept well in weeks. We stood there listening to the rain strike the pavement. Then she said, without looking at me, Have you ever had the feeling that if you go home too early, something will be waiting for you? It was such a strange thing to say that I laughed softly before I realized she wasn't joking. All the time, I said. That made her glance at me. Really glance. For the first time, I felt seen by her instead of merely noticed. There's a diner around the corner, she said. I don't want to go home yet. You don't seem like you do either. The smart thing would have been to say no. I had family calls to return. A brother probably pacing his kitchen. A mother building resentment in real time. But there was something in Leah's voice. Not flirtation, not quite. More like an invitation offered from the edge of something fragile. So I went. The diner was nearly empty. All chrome and soft jazz, and tired waitresses refilling coffee without asking. We took a booth near the window. Rain streaked the glass. Outside, headlights moved like blurred comets. At first we talked the way strangers do when they're pretending not to be strangers. Work. Chicago. Bad clients. Worse bosses. She was sharper than I expected, funny in a dry, devastating way. She listened with unsettling precision, as if every word mattered to her more than it did to me. When I told her I spent most of my life fixing other people's emergencies, she stirred her coffee and said, That usually means no one taught you how to have your own. I smiled. That sounds like something a lawyer would say. It sounds like something someone learns the hard way. Her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen, and something in her expression changed instantly. Not fear exactly, but a tightening, a retreat. She flipped the phone face down. Bad news. I asked. Old news, she said. I knew I should leave it there, but there was a loneliness in her that matched something in me, and loneliness has a way of mistaking itself for trust. X. She looked out at the rain. My sister. That surprised me. You don't like her? Leah gave a humorless smile. I love her. That's usually where the trouble starts. I understood that better than I wanted to. My own phone lit up again. Mom calling. Leah's gaze dropped to the screen, then back to me. You should answer. I know, but I didn't. She studied me for a moment, then said quietly, So you're one of those men. Those men. The ones who would rather carry a fire in their chest than let anyone watch them put it out. I should have been offended. Instead, I felt exposed. "And you?" I asked. "What kind are you?" For a second, I thought she wouldn't answer. Then she said, "The kind who leaves before people see the damage." The waitress brought pie we hadn't ordered. Leah thanked her like someone remembering how to be gentle. When she reached for her fork, her sleeve slid back slightly, and I saw a dark bruise near her wrist. I looked at it before I could stop myself, just for a second. But she saw. Her hand moved instantly, pulling the sleeve down. "Don't look," she said. Her voice wasn't angry. It was worse, soft, almost pleading. I dropped my eyes. "Sorry. It's fine." But it wasn't fine. Something had shifted. The air between us changed shape. A minute later, she stood up, took out cash, and placed it under her cup. "Leah, I should go. Did I do something wrong?" She picked up her umbrella. For the first time that evening, she looked unsure of herself. "No, that's the problem." Then she left. I watched her cross the street in the rain without opening the umbrella. My phone rang again in my hand. My mother. I answered this time. But by then all I could think about was the bruise under Leah Mercer's sleeve and the look in her eyes when she told me not to look, as if she was afraid that if I saw too much, I would either run or stay. That night my father was admitted again. By morning, Leah hadn't come into the office. By afternoon, I found myself staring up at the 2 floors above mine, unable to focus on a single email, unable to shake the feeling that I had just stepped into the first scene of something I didn't understand yet, but already couldn't walk away from. The next morning, Chicago woke up gray and cold, the kind of morning where the sky looks unfinished. I barely slept. My father had been admitted to the hospital around midnight. My brother's voice on the phone had sounded different this time, quieter, like the anger had finally burned itself out and left something fragile behind. The doctors said Dad was stable, but the word stable felt like a polite way of saying we're not sure what happens next. Still, the first thing I thought about when I walked into the office wasn't my father. It was Leah. Her floor was visible through the open atrium that connected the building's levels. Normally, I never noticed it. That day, I couldn't stop looking up. Her office door, glass like the rest of them, remained dark all morning. By noon, I told myself I was being ridiculous. People miss work. People get sick. People have lives that don't involve strangers they met over pie and coffee. But the bruise on her wrist kept replaying in my mind like a scene I couldn't edit out. Around 2 in the afternoon, I finally stopped pretending to work and rode the elevator up 2 floors. The litigation department had a different energy than ours. Quieter, sharper, like everyone there knew exactly where the knives were kept. Her office door was closed. I hesitated, then knocked lightly on the glass. No answer. I was about to leave when someone behind me said, "You looking for Leah?" I turned. A man in his 40s stood near the printer. Tall, pressed suit, expression permanently skeptical. "Yeah," I said. "Is she in today?" He shook his head. "Took personal leave." "Is she okay?" The man studied me carefully, the way people do when they're deciding whether you belong in a story. "You a friend of hers?" "Not exactly." "Then I'd say it's none of your business." He walked away before I could answer. I stood there another moment, staring at the empty office. Her desk lamp was still on, casting a lonely pool of light across the glass table. Something about that bothered me more than it should have. I went back downstairs. The rest of the day passed like a blur of emails and meetings I barely remembered. Around 6, my brother texted, "Mom wants you at the hospital tonight." I stared at the message for a long time. Family had always been complicated for us. My father was a proud man who believed weakness was a kind of failure. Growing up, affection in our house came disguised as criticism. When things broke, we fixed them silently and moved on. But illness changes the rules. By 7, I was walking through the hospital lobby, the smell of disinfectant and stale coffee pressing against my senses. My mother sat in a plastic chair outside Dad's room, her coat still on like she hadn't decided whether she was staying or leaving. "You took your time," she said without looking up. "Traffic. That's always your excuse." My brother leaned against the wall nearby, arms crossed. He gave me a tired nod. Inside the room, my father looked smaller than I remembered. Tubes, machines, the slow rhythm of monitored breathing. Seeing him like that pulled something loose in my chest. For a while, none of us spoke. Then my father opened his eyes. "Adrian," he said, his voice rough. "You working too much again?" Even half-conscious, he still sounded like himself. "Someone has to pay the bills," I said gently. He studied me for a moment, then gave the faintest smile. Your mother worries. My mother looked away quickly. We stayed there until nearly 10. When I finally stepped outside the hospital, the air felt colder than before. I shoved my hands into my coat pockets and started toward the parking lot. That's when I saw her. Leah. She stood near the far corner of the lot under a dim street lamp. Same dark coat. Hair loose this time, falling around her shoulders. For a second, I wondered if I was imagining it, if exhaustion had started playing tricks on my eyes. But then she looked up and saw me. Her expression froze. Adrian, she said quietly, what are you doing here? The question came out sharper than I meant it to. She hesitated. My sister, she said. She's here. Something in the way she said here made my stomach tighten. Is she okay? Leah didn't answer right away. Instead, she asked, your father? Still fighting. She nodded slowly. Good. We stood there for a moment, the cold air drifting between us. Then I noticed something. The bruise on her wrist. It was darker now, creeping slightly above the cuff of her sleeve. I looked at it before I could stop myself. Her eyes followed my gaze instantly. Adrian, she said softly. The same words as before. Don't look. But this time something in her voice was different. Not embarrassment. Fear. I lifted my eyes to meet hers. Who did that to you? Her expression hardened like a door slamming shut. You should go back to your family. That's not an answer. Please, she said. The words sounded fragile, almost desperate. For a moment, I thought she might tell me the truth. Instead, she stepped back into the shadow beyond the street lamp. You don't want to be involved in this, she said. Too late. A faint, sad smile touched her lips. You don't know what this is. Then tell me. She shook her head. Some things, she said quietly, only look like love from the outside. Before I could respond, a man's voice echoed from across the parking lot. Leah. A tall figure stepped out of the hospital entrance. Broad shoulders, dark coat. His stride carried the kind of confidence that comes from never expecting resistance. Leah's entire body went still. And in that moment, I understood something I hadn't wanted to admit since the diner. The bruise. The fear in her voice. The way she'd said, don't look. She wasn't hiding an accident. She was hiding a person. The man reached us a few seconds later. His eyes moved from Leah to me with calm, cold curiosity. Who's this? He asked. Leah answered quickly. A co-worker. The man extended his hand toward me with a smile that never reached his eyes. Daniel Mercer, he said. Leah's husband. The word landed like a quiet explosion in my chest. Our hands shook briefly. His grip was firm, possessive. Then he turned to Leah. Ready to go? She nodded. As they walked away together, Leah glanced back at me once. Just once. Her expression said something her voice couldn't. A warning. Or maybe a goodbye. But the strangest part was this. As Daniel Mercer opened the car door for her, I noticed something in the reflection of the window. Leah's eyes weren't filled with fear. They were filled with something worse. Resignation. And that was the moment I realized I had already crossed a line. Because even after she told me not to look, I couldn't stop. After that night in the hospital parking lot, I tried to convince myself it wasn't my problem. People live complicated lives. Marriages break in ways outsiders don't understand. Bruises can have explanations you're not entitled to hear. That's what I told myself. But every morning when I walked into the office, I still looked up toward the litigation floor. And every morning, Leah's office remained dark. 3 days passed. On the 4th day, she came back. I noticed the moment she stepped into the building lobby. She looked composed again, hair tied back, navy coat, the quiet confidence she always carried like armor. If someone didn't know her, they would think nothing had changed. But I knew where to look. Her wrist was covered now with a slim leather watch she'd never worn before. She saw me near the elevators. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she said quietly, "You shouldn't have asked questions that night." I was worried. That's exactly the problem. We stepped into the elevator together. The doors closed with a soft metallic sigh. "Is he hurting you?" I asked. Her gaze stayed on the glowing floor numbers. "It's not that simple. It never is." The elevator stopped on her floor. She didn't step out immediately. Instead, she turned to me. "Adrian, do you know what the most dangerous thing in the world is?" "Violence." She shook her head. "Hope." I frowned. She continued softly. "Hope makes people stay in places they should have left." Then she stepped out of the elevator and disappeared into the hallway. For the rest of the day, I couldn't focus. Something in the way she said that word, hope, kept echoing in my mind. That evening, around 9, my phone buzzed. A message. "Leah, are you still at the office?" I stared at the screen before answering. Yes. A minute later, another message appeared. Come to the parking garage. My heart started beating faster before I even realized why. When I reached the garage, she was standing near the concrete pillar under the dim yellow lights. The air smelled like cold metal and oil. She looked different tonight. Not afraid. Resolved. You shouldn't be here, I said quietly. I know. Does your husband know? A faint smile crossed her face. He never notices the nights I disappear. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then she said, You asked who hurt me. I waited. She slowly removed the watch from her wrist. The bruise had spread further now, darker than before. My chest tightened. Leah. She met my eyes. He doesn't hit me because he's angry, she said softly. He hits me because he can. The words hung in the cold air between us. Then leave him, I said. Her laugh was quiet and tired. You think I haven't tried? Then try again. For a long moment she didn't speak. Then she stepped closer, close enough that I could see the exhaustion behind her calm expression. You looked, she said. What? At the diner. When I told you not to. I'm sorry. She shook her head. No. I'm glad you did. I didn't understand. Why? Her eyes softened in a way I hadn't seen before. Because it reminded me that someone could still see me. The garage was silent except for the distant hum of traffic outside. Then she said something that changed everything. I filed for divorce today. I stared at her. What? He doesn't know yet. Leah, that's dangerous. Yes. But necessary. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she reached out and gently took my hand. Don't mistake this for a love story, she said quietly. What do you mean? Her eyes held mine. You didn't save me. A small, sad smile touched her lips. You just reminded me I deserved to save myself. She let go of my hand and stepped back. That was the last time I saw Leah Mercer. 2 weeks later, she transferred to another city. No goodbye, no message, just gone. And sometimes, late at night, when the city is quiet and memories start moving through the dark, I think about that moment in the diner, about the bruise under her sleeve, about the way she told me don't look. Because the truth I learned that year was simple and a little painful. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do for someone isn't rescuing them. Sometimes it's just seeing them and refusing to look away.